to Marty's Garden Show.
G'day my friends, Marty Ware here from Marty's Garden. Now I've got a really cool video for you today, because what I'm doing is I'm going back with some videos about the compost, the coffee, the worms, sort of back in the past year and forward into today. It's going to be a pretty cool video and some updates coming along the way. Watch the video, find out more guys. Marty's Garden is all about compost worms, composting, farming worms indoors and out, and growing some of the most awesome food around. You can learn how by clicking the subscribe button and hitting the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. So it was about 9 months ago that I got started with the Outdoor Urban Worm Farm project, and it was really something that I hadn't done much of before in a larger scale. I'd only done it in a smaller scale, enough for growing my microgreens and food for the restaurants. And a totally different climate to where I was living up on the coast, and obviously I was using new materials and new type of organic materials to get it all going. And so what I did was I started with a foam box, which I thought this is a great way to get started and just feed my worms and create an underground worm farm, and they'll come in and out of the box, and as the thing's breaking down I'll get a better system going. And I found that really I didn't need to do that. All I need to do is get the right compost in there and then start feeding into that zone and get the outdoor area, the outside area breaking down and creating that heat to keep the worms warm, because it was the middle of winter after all. So what I'm up to right now is I'm bagging this compost for the locals. It's nutrient dense, it's just full of microbes and worm castings and all that really great stuff that you need to grow awesome plants, and I'm getting really good feedback from everyone that are coming around and getting it. Now if you look here, I'm starting again back in the system of getting the coffee into the sawdust, and then on the left side the real dark stuff you can see is cow manure, and at the back you can see the compost as it's brewing. So this video was shot quite a while ago and I was still using the wood chip, which I've moved away from now, and I moved into sawdust because it just goes through my sifter and I'm able to produce volume much more quickly. Now I do like the wood chip because the worms really love it, and it does create a great compost overall, but it just took much longer to get the same result. So I'm pretty happy with that really. It's a great blend. I've got a great little trommel. It's going to make a really big difference to my business. I know it's not much, but look, it's a little off-grid thing. It's built really strong. It's going to last. I tell you what, it's getting much chillier here in Australia as autumn kicks in, and that's one of the problems that I'm having with my worms outside, controlling the temperatures throughout the season. But before we get to that part, which I want to discuss because it's very important, I want to show you how awesome these worms are feeding on this material that I've been making from the sawdust and the coffee, and they just absolutely love it. Now before we get to that bit, I want to show you what it looks like. If we can get it on camera here a bit, you can see it's like nearly probably 70 to 80% broken down, and that's a bit dry at the moment because it's been inside, but as that gets moisture in it, they just hook into that like no tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the lid up now and give you a look inside at just how active they are. So there's two things in this video guys. This is my hungry bin update, and also what I want to do is show you how much they love this sawdust coffee compost, because if I could show you outside how much they hook into it, I would be able to, but it's just much easier to show you from my hungry bin. And as you can see all those castings on top. That is that sawdust that is blended with the coffee turned into castings, which becomes super duper mineral rich. And these guys, as you can see, they're a healthy looking worm and they're super active. So they really do just love that material, right? They just love eating coffee. And what I've done is I've made a video a while back, and I'm going to leave a link for you up above if you want to learn more about worms and eating coffee grounds, because it's 100% free material and it makes a super duper nutrient rich worm casting. So check that out before you leave up there. Now let's keep getting into the story here and what I've had with the tribulations over the last year. Now, I mentioned about temperature because it is cooling down here. I had problems at the beginning with it getting hot in the summer, and that was my biggest issue. I find that cooling things down is much harder than warming things up, because you can warm up compost by adding new fresh material and get things going, and they'll hang on the side. So the center of the compost will be warm, and they'll hang on the edges right at the temperature where they want to feed, and the moisture's correct as well. So I find it's much easier to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm moving a lot of that coffee now that's breaking down onto the side of a side pile, and I'm allowing the worms, where it was much cooler, to slowly move through into that section. So they're going to do a migration now, because the area that's cooler is not getting any sun. It was getting sun in the summertime, and it's getting too cold for those worms. So they will migrate across and start feeding on the back side of the pile. Now, the compost worms for my system, for the artisan style compost, is very important, because they bring all the microbes with them. They lay their vital castings, and then I blend it all through at the end to make what I call my artisan compost. So we've got some really cool stuff coming up, guys. I'm pretty sure we're going to have some interviews with some really awesome gardeners. I'm just lining them up now as we speak. I've got a bit more work on at the school at the moment. I'm not allowed to show any photos or anything like that, because I've signed an agreement, nothing to do with social media. So sorry guys, I can't show you that. But I am working behind the scenes on getting this type of interview style video happening, with the stories of other gardeners as well as what's going on here at Marty's Garden. Now, if you want to see more videos, as I said, there's that one in the card about the coffee compost. There's another one here, there's another one here, and there's a subscribe button right there, which I highly recommend that you do, because there's plenty more coming straight to you. Happy gardening. I'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now.